All right, I'm here with an updated look at my PlayStation Vita collection. So it's been about 4 years since I updated my PlayStation Vita collection. I've added a few titles to it here and there, but I just really like to about the Vita. It's been a while since I got to talk about this little thing, so um, figured, what better time? I'm really cashing in on the zeitgeist of the PlayStation Vita right now. It's probably at the most relevant it's ever been in its life. Um, Here on November of 2023, so I might as well cash in on that. So, I got here the Vita that I used. I played the Vita a ton. I'm like, I was a little late to get into Vita. I got Vita in 2014, at the beginning of 2014, and I think this thing is just great. This is a great handheld. It is sleek. It's just stellar. Really deserved more. Really, really, truly just deserved more than what I got. And Sony really kind of screwed the thing over. And I don't know. They're doing it again with PSVR 2, but that's a conversation for a different story, for a different day. But figured I'd go through some Vita stuff. Vita games are getting kind of pricey, and they're gonna go crazy whenever they shut down the Vita store for digital games. But we're in a weird place where if you want Vita games, not very many of them. And then you got to think, how many people had a Vita? Not very many. Now, how many people were buying games? Not not very many, especially after maybe the first year. Now, how many of the games that were sold were digital copies, so they don't technically exist? And probably a decent amount. So, how many copies of these games are really out there right now? Probably not many. So, I would say, jump on Vita collecting. It's not going to get cheaper. If you're interested in the Vita, it's not going to get any cheaper. This is the OLED original model, and this was the Assassin's Creed white one. But Vita's region free, so you can import them for pretty inexpensive, really, out of Japan, and then just use it as you would use a normal Vita, because it is region free. But they're a little pricey if you want a North American one, but the Japanese ones are not too bad. And I would recommend an OLED model. The second 2000 model that was not OLED, it's it's fine. I've had a few that I've got from garage sales or whatever, but I didn't keep one. And it's fine, but it just doesn't look quite as nice as the OLED screen. Um, and I mean, you can say all you want. Vita has definitely been kind of supplanted at this point by stuff like the Steam Deck and the Switch, and now even PlayStation Portal's coming out, which is kind of trying to do that handheld stuff, even though that's not true, native handheld play. But Vita was just so cool for the time. I mean, it's got support until 2020, really. I mean, they were still releasing indie games on there in 2020, and it got supported way longer than probably Sony would have wanted it to get supported. But it's just kind of a shame how things went. I really feel like Sony didn't give it a fair shake before kind of just jumping off. And they screwed it over with the stupid memory cards. The memory cards were expensive then. They're still expensive on the secondhand market now. I don't know what was up with that. I know they were probably afraid of getting, hacked, getting it hacked and jailbroken like PSPs were, but, at what cost, I guess. Kind of screwed over the whole thing. But yeah, definitely a weird system, but definitely an awesome system. So I'm going to jump into my library of games that I have, starting with Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. So like I said, I got the Assassin's Creed bundle for the Vita, and this is the game that would have come with it. And I mean, it's Assassin's Creed on the Vita, on a handheld. I mean, the thing is that stuff like this was very impressive, having like a portable version of a game, a console quality game. If you want to say this is console quality, maybe. I don't know. But that was really impressive back, 2011, 2012. Vita came out I think late 2011 in Japan, 2012 here in the United States. 2012, 2013, that was very impressive to have like handheld versions of, console quality games. Now with stuff like Switch and Steam Deck and all that, we're playing native console quality games on a handheld, but I feel like it can't be, overstated how awesome this was. Stuff like that was at the time. And this is, I'm not an Assassin's Creed fan, so I'm not going to be the one to kind of talk about that one, but it's an interesting concept for Assassin's Creed. Never played this one. I got it at a Kmart of all places when they were shutting down their game section of the Kmart near me about 10 years ago. for $4. The Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate. So this was the kind of 2.5D Metroidvania Batman Arkham game that they put out, for handhelds. They also put it on 3DS. I've heard the Vita version's better, but I've heard this game's okay. I think they ported it to consoles later. I've never given it a go, but I got it for cheap. Figured maybe one day I would. I don't talk enough about how much I really like the Vita cases too. I always like these cases. They're like little, PS4 cases. They're great. I mean, they're a proprietary case, so once again, one of those things where trying to find one of these in the future is going to be miserable. Collecting and your plastic gets torn or something, but going to be miserable. But Danganronpa, I really like Danganronpa, the whole series. So Danganronpa 1, Danganronpa 2, and I continued the series on Vita, Danganronpa V3. So pretty late release Vita game. I believe Danganronpa V3, aside from some smaller titles, was probably the last big game I grabbed for the Vita, And I think V3 for a while was going for a lot of money. I don't know, probably just low print run, but I don't think it's quite as expensive now that they ported them to Switch. But I'm a huge Danganronpa fan. These games are awesome. This is an awesome trilogy of games. They're available everywhere now, but originally released on PSP in Japan only, then kind of the whole Something Awful forum, which was a disaster in its own right, but they had their whole little fan translation that kind of pushed NIS to want to publish these out here and bring these over, and it's gotten to be a pretty big series ever since then. So I think my favorite one is definitely V3. I know the ending is pretty divisive, but I think the ending is so cool and so interesting. But these games are great. This is just a solid trilogy of titles, and must play for the Vita, or really any platform, but must play for the Vita. Good stuff. These are like the quintessential Vita games, I think. When I think Vita, I really do think Danganronpa. That's like one of the first things I think. And then also there's Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls. This is like a weird third-person shooter in the universe. I played a little bit of it, and I thought it was pretty bad. But the other games are adventure games, Japanese adventure games. So kind of a weird genre shift, and then I just thought it was dumb. I'm sorry. Dragon's Crown, the Vanillaware title. Once again, one of those things where it's like this came out PS3 and Vita. There are a lot of crossplay stuff like that, and you got to give a shout out to Vanillaware. Their art style, Vanillaware is awesome. 13 Sentinels, I think, is probably my favorite game of theirs, but Dragon's Crown is more of a beat 'em up type game, and it's pretty cool. This was a pawn shop find. Dynasty Warriors next. Kind of cool to have a Dynasty Warriors game on a handheld back then. I mean, it was like a GBA Dynasty Warriors, but you know what I'm saying. Interesting at the very least, but I'm not really much on Dynasty Warriors. Don't really care very much, but Final Fantasy X and X-2. Why is my copy dirty? I gotta clean that up. Final Fantasy X and X-2. I really like Final Fantasy X. Never played X-2. I have this on the Switch because I bought this used, so technically this only has Final Fantasy X. They didn't put X-2. They put it on as a voucher, so I got this at a pawn shop for like a few dollars. So it only has 10 here anyway. But great way to play Final Fantasy X portably. Awesome game. And Vita had a lot of really good ports. I mean, there were some dud ports like the Borderlands 2 port, which, they tried, but that was just probably ill-advised. But Vita has some great ports. There's some good stuff here. Freedom Wars, this is another one I got for cheap. This was kind of like Vita's big attempt at having a Monster Hunter style game. Not exactly Monster Hunter. I'm not a big Monster Hunter fan anyway. But I think I got this for $5 on Black Friday at GameStop. And figured I'd give it a shot at some point, but just never did. But this was like the last game that Sony themselves really published Sony themselves really tried publishing and, putting out for the Vita. I think that was like 2015, maybe. I don't remember. God of War collection. I really like these collections on Vita. There's a few of these here, and I just think it's really cool that once again, especially back then, like, oh, these console quality games now in a pretty easy and accessible way on Vita. With I can get Final Fantasy X, I can put like the God of War games. Like we're getting PS HD collections of PS2 games, and some PS3 games, and they're on the go. So pretty nice little collection there. Gravity Rush. This is one of the first games I got for the Vita. Japan Studio and everything, who do not exist anymore. Pretty huge. What is the word I'm thinking of? I'm just plugging out. The big devs behind this game, some big names behind this game, but just not really. Didn't click for me. I just didn't really like it. I don't know. I thought it kind of controlled weird. It was charming and it looks nice and it was interesting, but I just thought it kind of controlled a little bit weird. So I wasn't really thrilled with it. But I know this is kind of one of the quintessential Vita games as well. Sony Japan first party game, published and everything. Not very many of those. Not very many first party games. When you really look at Vita, not a whole lot of first party games. There's some first party games of studios that they then shut down for making Vita games, and there's some second party games published by Sony, but not a lot of first party. So Lego Batman 2 DC Superhero. So I bought my Vita on eBay used because I couldn't get the white one anymore, and this just came with it. So Lego Batman 2. They did the Vita ports or Vita versions. They weren't really ports of the Lego games for a while, and they're pretty much comparable with like what you would get when you get the 3DS version or the DS version, where it's just kind of a watered down version of the console game, which is interesting because I remember like PSP used to get like the console versions of like Lego Indiana Jones. So it's interesting that like the console version of Lego Batman 2 was on like PS3 and Wii, but it couldn't go on Vita. I don't know. Mind Zero. So this was a garage sale find. This is actually I have a few of these. I bought a bunch of Vita games at a garage sale where they were $1 each, first of all, which is awesome. But they were like promo copies. It was someone who used to work with Sony, so got a lot of promo games where they have the hole punch on the barcode. So Mind Zero. I don't know anything about this game. I'm going to just be completely honest. Someone in the comments let me know if you know anything about Mind Zero or Mind Equals Zero or whatever that game's called. Mod Nation Racers Road Trip, another, kart racer, another game I got at a garage sale, but they just crossed out the barcode on this one for the, but I mean, this is a first party game, technically. San Diego Studio developed this one, but I didn't play this version of Mod Nation Racers. Mod Nation Racers, it was kind of like whatever. I remember the PS3 game, the load times were forever, and I don't know. Like, why? What universe am I going to be like, hey, man, you want to play Mario Kart or do you want to play freaking Mod Nation Racers? Like, get out of here. Come on. Let's be real. Need for Speed Most Wanted. This is another game that's console quality, PS3 game at the time version of the game. It's pretty solid, solid racing game and a good version of it on Vita. So really cool. Good job with that. EA, did a little bit with the Vita. They didn't go crazy. They put some versions of like some of their sports games for a few years. They didn't go nuts. I mean, we never got a Madden game on Switch, so Madden has actually supported the Vita much more than it ever supported the Switch. So do with that information as you will, because Vita has sold 100 million fewer consoles than the Switch and then some. So do with that information what you will, but Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 Plus. This was another pawn shop find. I have not played this one, but just kind of something cool to have on the Vita. Odin Sphere. Oh, come on. Life Trizer. I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. I play the Vita. You think I know how to read that? Never got around to playing this one. I played Odin Sphere on PS2. It's an awesome game. Vanillaware once again. Just really great. Great team. So, but did not play this Vita version. Persona 4 Golden, one of my all-time favorite games, and of course my first experience with the series here on Vita, and I was just really blown away, enamored with it. Top 10 game for me ever. Just so good, and it really, this is, when you think Vita game, this is the quintessential Vita. I mean, I'm saying there are some games that are like, people see this as like a quintessential Vita game. This is the quintessential Vita game. It is, it is really just one of the greatest JRPGs of all time. It's a fantastic game. So awesome. The systems are great. They all work together so well. Great cast, great story. Just an all-time classic. And the revised revised port remaster of the PS2 game. Always weird with Persona 4, just because like came out in 2008 on PS2, like 2 years after PS3 was already out. Which was weird back then. It's not really that weird now. We're still getting PS4 games in 2023, 3 years after, and it's like nothing. But that was weird for PS2 back then. And then just the idea that they had that, and then they poured it to the Vita, which never was as big as I think anyone would have wanted it to be. So, game never got a fair shake till it got ported to PC and console and everything. But great game, worth playing. Play it on Vita or play it on ports, but it's an all-time great, and I would say the best Vita title. Persona 4 Dancing All Night is a fun little side game, rhythm game of Persona 4 music. It's enjoyable. I mean, there's a story mode. It's pretty pretty lackluster, kind of just there to take up time, but the rhythm, it's fun. The rhythm game gameplay is fun, and I just like rhythm games that are like a celebration of game music for a certain series, like the theater rhythm games, stuff like that. I think that's really cool. I wish they would do more of that. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. PlayStation's somewhat, ill-fated attempt at doing a Smash Brothers clone. It's one of those weird things where it's like, if you're going to clone Smash Brothers, I wish you would have just done it. Like, there's some interesting things here, but just the way you get KOs and stuff, and the way you just play the game is just wrong. Like, I'm not sure why the balancing's all messed up. I don't know why anyone was like, yeah, you gotta, hit these guys with these special moves, and if you hit them with the super special move, then they're out. But if you hit them with some guy's tier 3 special move is not as good as the other guy's tier 1 special move, and this guy's tier 1 special move is terrible reach, but I don't know. They are it's an interesting concept. I'd love to see them revisit it. It would be fun, I think, to see them revisit it, with a new generation of characters and more third parties that make sense. Like, I don't know why Big Daddy's in this and God knows what else, but I like the concept. I feel like it was just maybe wrong studio. Studio doesn't exist. What were they called? Superbot, something like that. Megabot, I don't remember. Mega Blocks, who knows. But I feel like it was just kind of wrong studio, wrong. I feel like they wanted too much to be Smash Brothers, but to be like, no, we're not copying Smash Brothers. We're kind of doing the same thing, but look, we have different gameplay, and it was like, you got to just copy. If you're going to copy it, just copy the whole thing. Look at some of these platform fighters are pretty big and, pretty well liked, and they're just Smash Brothers pretty much. Ragnarok Odyssey. I got this for cheap. I don't think I ever played it. I don't remember anything about this, but Ragnarok Odyssey. Sly Cooper collection, another cool collection of games. Sly Cooper games. Pretty fun. I like them quite a bit. Probably, I like them more than Jak and Daxter. Probably not as much as Ratchet and Clank, but fun series. And this is a pretty cool little collection. Unfortunately, the third game is on a voucher. A lot of these vouchers, even if you buy the game sealed, a lot of the vouchers, unfortunately, expired. So probably no good anymore. So, but Sly Cooper 1 and 2 HD at least. Smart As. This is another one that was a promo from a garage sale. Who developed this? Because this is published by Sony. I wonder who developed this. Probably London Studio, I'd imagine, if it's first party, but I don't see a team on there. I'm not going to hold up the video anymore. Soul Sacrifice. I don't think I even knew I had this. Huh. Cool. Tearaway. This is another one I got when I got my Vita. I liked this game a lot. I wasn't really big into Little Big Planet. I didn't like Little Big Planet. I surprisingly the only one I really liked was not even developed by Media Molecule. I liked the Sackboy game on PS5. That game was pretty fun, but I liked this game quite a bit. This was like a little bit of a, no pun intended, they tore away some of the Media Molecule staff off of, wasting their life away making Dreams for 10 years or whatever they were doing, and made this fun little Vita platformer. And it's fun. It's good. Some interesting ways of using. It's kind of gimmicky, but it's still fun and unique ways of kind of using the Vita's features. And yeah, I like this one a lot. They put this on PS4 too, so worth playing. Don't know what's up with Media Molecule. They really wasted time with that Dreams game. I don't know. That was ill advised, but oh well. Tokiden. This was kind of another one of there's actually a little instruction piece of paper here. Another one of like the oh crap, PSP had Monster Hunter. Now 3DS got Monster Hunter. We need our own Monster Hunter on Vita. Koei Tecmo drops in. Koei Tecmo would go on to make Wild Hearts, which they also tried to make as like a Monster Hunter competitor. Didn't really work out either time. I'm thinking maybe they ought to not try to make a Monster Hunter competitor anymore. Trails of Cold Steel, Legend of Heroes. This should probably be under Legend of Heroes, but I don't know. That's the series title, but great games. I never finished the second one. I need to go back and finish the second one. I really liked the first one. It's just, these games are really cool just in the way that they are. I mean, they're obviously lower budget. Like, I don't want to say low budget is like a bad way, but they're just smaller budget games, a more simplistic art style when it comes to this kind of stuff, at least these games. They're developed by Falcom, who's probably better known now for these games than they were but Ys was probably, they're more recognizable at one point, more recognizable series. But just really impressive world building, really impressive storytelling, really like good writing and everything. Really cool. And I'm a little bit intimidated because I just got Trails of Cold Steel, almost blind, just being like, oh, I hear this is a pretty cool JRPG for the Vita. And then I, played through it that year and I was like, man, this game's awesome. And then I got Cold Steel 2 and then fell off of it. I got Cold Steel 2 and then kind of just fell off of it. I was like, it's good, but I got to get back to it at some point. I'd like to start it back over and play it again. And then I've just been buying all the Legend of Hero games since then because I want to get into this series. It's really cool. But I just, I want to get them. I've been buying them on Switch. And I want to get them just so I have them. So, when they get expensive in the future, I already have my copy. Like, oh, I'm good. I'm not going to, because some of them are already like Trails from Zero. They printed like 5 copies of that game, so that game's already expensive on Switch. So, on a tangent, cool games. I'm a little bit intimidated just from the fact that they're like, this is this saga, and this is this saga, and this is this arc, and then they all come together in Reverie, but you have to play like 5, of these. There's more like 8 of these like 50-hour JRPGs, and it's like, this is awesome, but at the same time, when am I ever going to have time for this? But when I retire, hopefully, I will. When I'm retire, I'll be like, I don't know. I'm not a boomer, so I'll probably get to retire at like 92. So when I retire, I will be playing the Legend of Heroes series. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom. I like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom a lot. I remember getting this on clearance at it. I feel like I got so many games just clearanced out for Vita because just who, But this is a Toys R Us. And I like this game quite a bit. I mean, it's not nearly as good as Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which is just an all-time, probably the best fighting game of all time. Incredible art style. And I feel like art style really carries a lot of it. Like, this game is still solid, but the art style is not nearly as good, going from the awesome pixel art to the kind of whatever, and a little bit probably dated now, 3D models. But I really like the roster. They put Phoenix right in here. That's my man. So appreciate that. But, you know, cool to have the console quality fighting game on a handheld. Not optimal for if you want to play multiplayer, but it's a different story. Uncharted Golden Abyss. Some people kind of say like this is what was wrong with the Vita in the sense that we were getting watered down versions of console games rather than full experiences of console quality games or unique dedicated Vita experiences. But once again, one of those games where it's just like, man, that this is still an Uncharted game. All the components are here. It's not as good. It's not developed by Naughty Dog. It's developed by Bend, which then they would make Days Gone. That took like 7 years after this came out. But, still a fun little part of the Uncharted series. This is going to be uneven. I'm sorry for anyone this bothers, but I didn't really think this through. World of Final Fantasy. I got this on Black Friday for cheap. Then I never played it. But this is kind of like almost like a Pokemon style Final Fantasy game. Ys Memories of Celceta. I'm just buying all the Falcom RPGs and then like that come out as of recently and being like, one day I'll get to these, but I want to get them before they're expensive. Is that a dumb way of going about it? Probably, but what can you do? Fool and his money, easily parted, something like that. But I think I might have started this one, but I don't remember finishing it. But I always just like the aesthetic of these games and just the way that they present. They're a good mixture of like old school but still modern. So I always appreciate that. Music's always good. So yeah, I did it. I just spent almost a half hour talking about a failed handheld from about a decade ago. I like the Vita a lot. Like I said, I don't play it as much as I used to, but I played that thing. I mean, it's not a modern system anymore, so I'm more on the modern stuff now. But I played this thing to death from 2014 to 2017. Played a ton of games on here. Some digital games. PlayStation 1 Classics was awesome to have. Handheld versions of like PS1 games on there. Just an awesome system. Wish it would have, reached its full potential, but what we got wasn't bad. So, still happy with what we got. So, if you enjoyed this, leave a like. And let me know what your favorite Vita games are. Let me know if there's any games you'd recommend that I don't have in my collection. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And did I say leave a like if you enjoyed? Well, if you left a like already, unlike it and then re-like it. You don't have to do that, but it's a thought. I'd like to thank you for watching, and until next time.